I'm here today with Mitchell Klein. Mitchell Klein is with NOLA AI.
Yep.
Tell me exactly what is NOLA AI.
Actually, we are a software laboratory company focused on building foundational AI products. And we are located in New Orleans, and we actually have a joint venture, which is part of a voter information and intelligence product for the upcoming election that we're doing.
Now, you told me earlier that you really think we are moving too fast with technology, faster than humanity can absorb it. What did you mean by that?
Well, here's what I'm saying, just sort of to back it up. It's just that we're living in an exceptional time right now. And what a lot of people are not thinking about, I realize people today here at this conference are probably thinking about, wow, the world seems really broken and things are not really working. It's especially true in our politics, where we're at this like great impasse in our country, people not getting along, all of that. But I truly believe that a lot of that is happening because everything that was built for last century is basically breaking in this century. These old systems of government and doing things are not able to keep up with the speed and pace of technology that continually breaks business models, right? In our lifetimes, we've seen 4 or 5 different forms of telephone, right?
Right. You were taught, you brought up and said,
right,
look,
the
I have
business model's been
rotary.
broken for telephones 5 different times.
Right.
But now the business model for the internet may be breaking, like AI may be replacing the internet. And I think I believe that we're definitely facing some sort of human evolution here too, as our biology advances at a great rate, and our machines advance at a great rate. And I think we're about to see 1 million humanoid robots on Earth in the next 5 years.
Right.
A lot of things are going to be changing very rapidly, and I don't think we can count on politics not being one of those things that changes.
Right, and what's your envisionment of what that really means, and also with the technologies that you work on, what do you think that means?
Okay, well, so what I think it means is I think there's a couple different things that are really important here. One is that a lot of these technologies to date have really been only used to divide people.
Right.
If we look at the situation that happened in the last election, where in the 2016 election with Cambridge Analytica, psychographic profiling, Facebook
I think you should
ads.
explain that because a lot of people don't understand what actually happened there.
What happened there, I mean, essentially nothing different than what is really going on in the world now, which is that companies know everything about you based on machine learning.
Right.
They're able to predict your personalities and all that. But what was different there is that the folks that were at Cambridge Analytica, in order to try to provide a base to Trump, what they did is they identified the most extreme and angry people in every direction, and they just pitted them against each other and had them fight each other. And you probably remember this period of time when you were like on social media, people would be getting in fights with you that you barely knew, but you'd be incensed.
Right.
And that actually sort of, I think, broke politics in our country, because reasonable people don't want to have fights with their friends all day.
Right.
They don't care that
Well, I mean,
much.
in fact, that's how Congress used to be, right? A lot of people from different political perspectives, they would sit down, they'll have dinner, they'll have their fights in the halls of Congress and go have a drink.
Yes.
All of that is gone because people now think they're mortal enemies, as opposed to we are all looking for the same things at the same time.
It's not rational.
It is. What does that say though about AI versus the brain, the natural brain?
What it says is that we've known for a long time that if you just keep repeating the same message to people enough, they will get stuck.
Right.
And that's like what the KGB did. That's what our
own CIA
our own
does.
intelligence agencies know about war, right? So people are conducting war as politics right now, and that's part of why things aren't working. But here's the thing. The same technologies could be used to try to find ways to have people get along better and cooperate.
That is actually a statement of fact.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is there are now people trying to do that. In fact, with our program here at Politics Done Right, we are trying to bring people together. As progressives as we are, we're trying to bring people together, showing that they do share most in common.
Most people, regardless of
political
where they
ideology,
grew up with, their race, everything, most people are good.
Yeah.
Actually, most people.
Actually, right.
Now, I was an organizer in my life for a group called Acorn for 16 years.
I remember
Yeah.
Acorn that was shut
Yeah.
down illegally.
It was attacked by the Republicans savagely. But my point of saying that is that right now organizing is broken.
Right.
Okay, it's fun. I mean, there's no one at this conference that really does organizing.
Right.
Okay, they might say they do, but they don't do it like they're not out banging on doors finding new members every day.
And that's the thing. People have allowed the system to do the try to make the system do the organizing for them, as opposed to creating relationships.
Yes.
The old form of organizing used to be creating relationships, your trust, your sphere of trust. And the sphere of trust now has become an electronic media.
I think so too. And I think it's done another thing, which I think is that something that we all realize is that if we're constantly segmenting people and saying people act this way if they're this way, they live here, they act this way, they're this race, they're going to vote like this. If we constantly segmenting people and making assumptions, then are we actually just always looking for division, even if our intentions are not bad? And that to me has really driven like a problem in our society where people look harder for what separates them than they look for what's common ground.
That is very true. Now, that does hit a double-sworded area when we talk about identity politics. The reason you have identity politics is because identities historically in this country have been treated differently. So what many on the right have done with identity politics is use the same terminology, the same phraseology you just used, which says if we're looking for division, we're going to get division.
Right.
While identity politics is not looking for division.
Their thing has been to shut down discussion.
Right.
My thing is, okay, if we really want to think about how people are going to get along, we actually have to kind of like lower the temperature in the conversations.
Right.
We shouldn't just start with, I'm angry and here's the most extreme position I can take for every conversation.
Right.
What we need to do is like look at the things where we probably can all agree as Americans. And I think that's that's not to say like the problem is that the same people that are trying to shut down everything about discussion, their real agenda is just like racism.
Right.
Right? So they're full of shit.
Right.
So like they're not genuine about it.
Right.
And so it's all just like to me, it's all just like very difficult to discuss because there's also a certain reality that like we don't actually have to always emphasize our divisions.
Right.
And people feel like we have to say that because we're in such a hostile environment.
Right.
Your reaction to that is from the hostile environment we live in.
Exactly.
And your fear of that fact that it could get so much worse. And I think we are in that moment in the world where we're seeing that the systems that protected us for 250 years in our country, no, for 60 years in our country.
Right.
Okay. First 200 years were fascist. Okay?
Right.
Besides slavery, other things too. Okay. But the point is the systems that sort of have protected us for the 60 years
are being deconstructed.
Well, they're easy to deconstruct because the technology is so much faster.
And, even when we talk about AI, someone who knows about AI, what we're talking about is AI taking our collective knowledge. And if our collective knowledge is not benign, how can AI possibly be benign?
Well, so that's an interesting question, and I'll answer that for you the way I see it. Okay, so, like 70,000 years ago, humans got language.
Right.
Before then, we were kind of just like other animals where we had small vocabularies.
Right.
In that time, we see that societies and great civilizations have come and gone. We see evidence of that.
Right.
Finally, though, after 70,000 years, what we've done is we've managed to understand where every single thing that we say sits in mathematical space.
Right.
In a high dimensional space. So I'll give you an example. So it's like you have the word man and you have the word boy, you have the word king, you have the word queen.
Right.
All these four words are all related to each other.
Right.
But in high dimensional space, they all have different attributes. But you can draw that relationship.
Right.
And understand the relationships between those words. And then we can actually predict based on frequency of word and other attributes what the very next word should be. That's what AI really is, generative AI.
Right.
Right. Its ability to both predict and get the right word, right? And understand the relationship between the words.
Exactly.
Right? Now, here's the problems we're facing with AI, which I think is really, really significant to the world we're in right now. Really significant. Number one, the voracious pace of technology is sucking up energy.
Yes.
Okay, we think it's about cars. It's going to be about data centers
Right.
and crunching this data. And we're, by some estimates, in 20 or 30 years, we're going to need the entire power of the sun. Which could, I guess that's fine. We'll invent this thing called the Dyson sphere that collects. The
Oh,
power
actually,
of
it
the sun.
is the mathematics is absolute that we can
Yeah.
actually live on solar power
Yeah.
using back-in stores and all of that.
Yeah.
That is also from the solar power, but
Yeah, well, we will have contraptions in space
Exactly.
that capture more and send it back to Earth. We're going to figure a lot of these things out if
Right.
we can make it as a species. But my point is that we're already experiencing some of these very dramatic changes in
Right.
science, and they are changing our relationships to each other, right? So we've had the internet as a primary relationship, and on the internet, it's the Wild West. Pretty much anything goes.
Right.
But when you start having AI with predictive analytics and you start reaching for veracity and what veracity really means, which is a common epistemic meaning between humans, right? That I really meant what I said, and you really understood what I meant, and then you said something back to me, and I pretty much understood what you said back.
Because
That-
yes.
That is a theory of mind thing. That is about who has possession of the thought or the item. When we are able to reach that level, we're able to reach the level of reasoning, true reasoning and curiosity.
That's when
then
AI.
you're going to, and what I'm telling you is that my company is working on all those things.
Well, look, it's been
So-
a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's been my pleasure speaking to you, and I think this level of discussion is important going forward, especially with the advent of the explosion in AI. So, look, it's
Yeah,
been
and
my
I think it's going to be, next year, if you're at Netroots, you're going to see
right,
it will be a different conference just because of this.
Mitchell.
Thank you.
Thank you. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.